When you promise and don't deliver, your confidence shrinks. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," and let tomorrow become another empty day, something inside you weakens. It's not lack of willpower. It's not laziness. It's a pattern you built without realizing it, and that pattern is sabotaging everything you try to start. Have you noticed you always quit at the same point? Day 3, day 4. The strong motivation from the beginning turns into weight. The enthusiasm turns into exhaustion, and you're back to square one. Again, how many times have you already started the same thing? How many promises have you made to yourself and broken before the first week? The good news is you can rebuild, because the problem isn't you. It's the way you're starting. If someone filmed your first 3 days, they'd see the pattern. You start too big, too fast, too full. And when the excitement fades, all that's left is the weight of effort. In this video, you'll understand why your brain sabotages you right at the beginning, and you'll leave here with a simple method that prevents quitting. It's not motivation. It's not willpower. It's structure. And you can start this today, right now, without waiting for the perfect Monday. Let me tell you an ancient lesson that changed everything for a lot of people. There was a young warrior who wanted to master the sword. He woke up early, trained alone in the courtyard before sunrise, dreamed of the day he'd be remembered as a master. He spoke about it with passion. He promised dedication. But on the 3rd day of each cycle, he was absent. He said he'd slept poorly, that he needed rest, that he'd come back stronger later. The master watched in silence, without judging, without demanding, just observing. One day, the master called the young man and showed him 2 blades. One shining, sharp, perfect. The other rusted, full of flaws, almost brittle. He asked, which one was forged with more strength? The young man pointed to the shining one. The master shook his head. Both were forged with the same intensity. The difference was in the polishing. The shining blade was polished every day, a few minutes, without fail. The other was polished hard at the beginning, then abandoned. The young man understood. It wasn't intensity that was missing. It was constancy. He returned the next day. But this time, he promised only 10 movements. Just 10, nothing more. Rain or shine, tired or rested. 10 movements, always. Does this sound familiar? Not the warrior story, but the pattern. You start strong. You promise too much. You do too much on the first day. On the second, you still go. On the third, your body feels heavy. Your mind resists, and you quit, not because you're weak, but because you started with so much intensity that your brain interpreted it as a threat, not as a routine. Science explains it. When you do something new and intense, your brain spends a lot of energy trying to understand if that's necessary for survival. If it's not, it will sabotage you. It'll send signals of tiredness, boredom, resistance, not to screw you over, but to protect you from what seems unnecessary. And you know what seems unnecessary to the brain? Everything that requires effort without immediate reward. Have you noticed that planning feels better than doing? Talking about change gives the sensation of progress without the friction of action. Buying new sneakers, setting up the spreadsheet, choosing the perfect playlist. All of this lights up the same reward circuits as real action, but without the discomfort. That's why you procrastinate. Not out of malice, out of biology. How many times have you felt like you were making progress just because you organized things, but didn't actually do anything? How many times has preparation become an excuse not to act? This isn't lack of ability. It's a pattern that can be changed. And the change begins when you stop trusting motivation and start trusting the minimum. The ancient masters knew this without needing neuroscience. They taught a simple rule. The blade doesn't sharpen with one violent strike. It sharpens with a stone, passed slowly, repeated 1,000 times at the same angle with the same pressure. It's not force that transforms. It's conscious repetition. An old master used to say, if you can't do it every day, you can't really do it. It doesn't matter how much you do on a good day. What matters is what you maintain on a bad day, because the bad day is the test. That's where you discover if you're building or just reacting to passing excitement. The metaphor of the stone and the blade is perfect. You don't see progress with each pass. But after 100 passes, the blade cuts differently. After 1,000, it shines. The process is invisible until the moment it becomes undeniable. And the only way to reach that moment is to not break the sequence. It's not about intensity. It's about daily presence, even if minimal. Remember this. Invisible constancy beats visible effort. The method is simple, but it needs to be followed with precision. It's not about doing a lot. It's about creating a structure that your brain can't sabotage. And this happens when you reduce the size of the action to a point so small that resistance has nothing to grab onto. Think of a mountain. You don't climb it all at once. You climb it step by step. And the first step needs to be so low that you can take it even on the worst day of your life. The protocol has 3 parts. First, the size. The action needs to be ridiculously small. So small that you can do it even sick, tired, with no time, with no desire. It's not about immediate results. It's about keeping the chain going. If the goal is to write, the minimum action isn't write 2 pages. It's opening the file and writing 3 sentences. If the goal is to train, it's not do an hour workout. It's putting on your shoes and doing 10 squats. Sounds silly? Perfect. That means it's the right size. The ego wants to start big. The brain wants to start impossible to fail. Second part, the trigger. The action needs to be tied to a fixed moment of the day. Not whenever I can. Not when I feel like it. But at a specific point that already exists in your routine. Right after coffee. Before the shower. When you get home. The trigger transforms the action into automatism. Your brain stops deciding whether to do it or not. It just does it, because it's what comes after that moment. The blade is polished always at the same time, not because it's special, but because it becomes part of the day, like brushing your teeth. Third part, the continuity rule. You cannot break the chain. Even if you do the minimum, you do it. Even if it's ridiculous, you maintain it. If one day you fail, you don't give up. You come back the next day. But the goal is to never break. Because each day you maintain, confidence grows. Each day you break, disbelief returns. The mountain doesn't care how much you climb in one day. It only cares if you stop climbing. And here's the point many people don't understand. The method doesn't depend on motivation. Motivation is the wind. It comes and goes. The method is the sail. It navigates even when the wind stops, because it has structure. You'll have days when you won't feel like it at all. Great. Those are the days that matter most. Because on those days you prove to yourself that you don't need emotion to act. You act because you decided. And decision is stronger than feeling. The ego prefers the big beginning, the dramatic story, the I'm going to change everything now. But the small wins. It always has. The stone that wears down the rock isn't the biggest. It's the one that falls every day in the same place, without stopping. Let me show you how this works in practice. There's a person who spent years trying to get back to studying. Every beginning of the year, same promise. Bought books, set up a schedule, set aside 3 hours a day. First week, solid. Second week, exhaustion. Third week, quitting. And the cycle started again 6 months later, with the same guilt, the same frustration, until they changed the rule. They decided to study 5 minutes. Just 5. Every day, at 7 at night, right after dinner. Didn't matter the subject. Didn't matter how much progress was made. Only mattered to maintain the 5 minutes. At first, it seemed useless. 5 minutes doesn't teach anything, right? But on the 10th day, something changed. They realized they no longer felt resistance. Opening the book became automatic. And on some days, the 5 minutes became 10, then 15, not because they forced it, but because the momentum was already created. There was one particularly difficult day. They came home exhausted, upset, with no energy at all. The old pattern would say, "Not today, I'll make up for it tomorrow." But they remembered the rule, 5 minutes, even if just to keep the chain going. Sat down, opened the book, read half a page, closed it, done. The chain continued. And the next day, confidence returned. 3 months later, they had studied 90 consecutive days, not always with intensity, but always with presence. And the result? They advanced more in those 3 months than in the last 3 years of intense and failed attempts. The change didn't come from the peak. It came from the base, from the constancy that nobody sees, but that builds everything. Now it's your turn. Choose one thing, just one, and reduce it to the absolute minimum. Not what would be nice to do. What you can do even on your worst day. Do it today, now, just to create the first win. Because the first win ignites the second, and the second pulls the third, until you look back and realize you didn't quit on day 3. You passed day 3, and 4, and 10. If this video made sense, subscribe to the channel. There are a lot of people here trying to build the same thing you are, real consistency, without illusion, without excuses. And leave in the comments what's going to be your small step today. Not the grand plan, the small step, the one you're going to take in a bit, without waiting for motivation to arrive. Preparation without practice becomes delay. Intention without action becomes self-sabotage. Motivation without structure becomes repeated frustration. You don't need a perfect day. You need a minimum commitment. The blade doesn't sharpen itself. It needs the stone, and the stone needs to be passed every day in the same motion, without pause, without excuse. Consistency isn't talent. It's decision. It's choosing productive boredom over unproductive emotion. It's accepting that real transformation is slow, invisible, and happens away from the spotlight. Nobody's going to applaud you on day 3. Nobody's going to congratulate you on day 10. But on day 100, you'll look back and see a different person. Not because you became someone else, but because you proved to yourself that you're capable of keeping your word. The young warrior returned to the courtyard. This time, without promising greatness. Just 10 movements. It rained. He did it. He got tired. He did it. He doubted. He did it. And 6 months later, the master called him again. He showed him the blade that had been rusted before. Now it shone, not because it was polished with force, but because it was polished with presence. Every day, without fail, your blade is waiting. It doesn't need a violent strike. It needs you every day with a stone in your hand, doing the minimum. Start now. 1 minute, 3 lines, 10 reps, whatever it is. But start, because day 3 isn't the end. It's just the beginning of the test, and you're going to pass. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. We're building this together. See you in the next one.